I think I just want to start this recording by saying I recently dug out a mug that I was given a couple years back, and it's this really nice sort of metal mug that has a nice silkscreen on it of KK Slider and a little triangle pattern, and then the Animal Crossing New Horizons leaf logo, and it's just really nice. And I decided I should bring it back out again and start using it as a mug because it's cute. It's also a really nice color. I really love teal. Teal is my favorite color. I have a specific shade that I really enjoy, and it's so close to that color that I'm really happy with it. So, anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. Hello and welcome back to the Lion's Den. I'm your host Matt, as always, and the reason why I found said mug, as I'm holding it, all you can hear as well. It's metal, which is really nice. A little bit annoying in certain circumstances, but it's really nice otherwise. The reason I got that mug back out is because my sort of thing for this year is to try and throw out stuff. Because when I tried to move my room around, as I explained a couple of weeks back, I think, I realized the problem is not necessarily the furniture I have, it's the amount of other things I have. Like, literally in front of me right now is a guitar amp. I've got a box full of stuff. I've got my chest of drawers, which has a bunch of stuff on top of it. Under my bed, there's 4 drawer units, of which had stuff on top of them, as well as in them. So it's just, that's the problem with trying to move my room around, is having to deal with all of those small things that are just elsewhere. So my plan for this year is every weekend I'm going to try and go through something and just throw out some stuff. So last weekend I went through my big box, which annoyingly has a lot of stuff in it that needs to just be long-term stored. But there were a few things in there that I was like, okay, I can just get rid of those. And I found said mug in there as well and thought, well, why am I storing this? I might as well use it. I'll try and go through some of the underbed units because I know there are so many things in there that I could probably get rid of. But hopefully the logic is if I kind of throw out something every weekend, eventually by the end of the year, I'll have thrown out a bunch of stuff and just have more space and less things that I don't need to hoard, basically. So there's that. I would encourage you to maybe look into it as well. Anyway, I would like to get on today's fun-filled topic, which is my car. I've had a very fun and weird situation with my car over the last couple of weeks, and I just thought I'd kind of go over it. So there's that. So the first thing is that on a positive note, my car passed its MOT, which is fantastic. I was slightly concerned, honestly, and it was a bit of an awkward situation. So the awkward situation is mainly just the fact that I work. So the way I did it is the drop-off for the MOT test was 8 o'clock this morning. So I got up early, did all of my stuff, had breakfast, got a shower, whatnot. Drove down there, did the self-check-in thing, and then walked back home. So that worked out quite nicely. And then they called me at about 11:30 today saying, yo, it's done, you can come pick it up. And I was there like, okay, well, I can only pick it up either in my lunch break or after work. How does that work? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's fine, it won't take long, you just need to pay and whatnot. So I went and picked it up in my lunch break. So that was nice. A little bit awkward, but a little bit fortunate, with the whole working from home thing. It meant that the place I go to for my MOT is literally around the corner. That's why it worked so efficiently. And I've not had to change my hours or work longer or do anything. It's all fit within my normal bounds. So that's great. My car passed its MOT with flying colours. That's also another really good thing. Body's making weird noises. The reason I was slightly concerned is because there had been a few things with the car that had just been kind of going a bit weird and a bit wrong, and I was just worried, basically. I had noticed that with the really cold temperatures, for some reason the front brakes started squeaking, and I was slightly concerned, is there a problem with the brake pads or any with the braking system? Are they really worn and whatnot? Because I know with some cars and some braking systems, they have things built into them that are designed to make noise to tell you that your brakes are on the limit. No, that didn't come up on the MOT test, which is something they check. There had been a weird knocking noise on the driver's side rear suspension, which was really freaky for ages, but for some reason that noise seems to have gone away, and they didn't pick that up. I assume that's possibly not something they even test for, but the car has driven perfectly fine. It brakes perfectly fine whilst all of this was happening, and obviously, as they say, they checked that kind of thing and it's fine. So the really spooky thing is that the MOT certificate you get obviously has all the information about the car, so all the identification numbers and what the car is, the license plate, all of that stuff, whether it's passed or failed. And then normally on most cars that aren't brand new, mine isn't brand new by the way, there'll be like a list of advisories, things that are kind of getting to a point where you might want to start considering fixing or replacing things, like the brakes, for example, the tire tread depth, that kind of stuff, fluids and whatnot. This had absolutely nothing on it. Nothing. Like, literally, my MOT certificate is not even a full A4 page of paper. It's like 3/4 of the page. It's hilarious. Whereas I'm used to my previous car, which was a lot older and had a lot more issues with it. There'd always be something on there that was like, oh, you could maybe get this fixed, or oh, this might be something to consider doing in a couple months or something. Nothing that ever meant I couldn't drive the car. You might also be confused if you don't know what an MOT test is. I actually don't know what MOT stands for. Something probably like motor vehicle something test. Essentially, in the UK, if you want to drive your car on the roads, you need 3 things. 1, you need to tax your car, so you just need to pay to the government to say, here's some money so I can drive my car. You need insurance as a driver. You legally cannot drive without insurance, otherwise you're going to be in a huge mess. And you need an MOT. Now, an MOT basically does a bunch of safety checks on the car to make sure that it's functioning to a point where it's not going to cause a problem for you, it's not going to cause a problem for other people. The biggest things, for example, are what are the emissions like? How is the engine running? Do your brakes work properly? Is it structurally sound? That kind of stuff, just to make sure that it's not going to explode driving down the road, and to make sure that you can stop and go efficiently and hopefully not be in an accident due to a fault of the car. The fault will most likely be yours. So it's something that you do once a year. It's obviously a legal requirement. And I was, like I said, because I had that noise with the back suspension, because there was the noise with the brakes, I was slightly concerned that it possibly could fail. And I'm just very elated that it says absolutely nothing on this certificate. So that's funny. Cars are just really weird things. Either people absolutely love them and go the complete full 9 yards, I think that's the expression, or people just, you see them as a tool, which I think is a perfectly acceptable way to see it, right? It's a car, it's a function thing, or it's a hobby thing. There's kind of no in between. Even if it's a job, if you're a mechanic or somebody that does testing and whatnot, I feel you'll either land in one of the two camps, right? To me, I think it's an interesting thing, and I enjoy driving. I enjoy doing manual driving. That's really fun for me personally. The act of driving on roads is a whole thing, which I imagine most people can attest to, because there's just so much that goes into it that it's a whole thing, right? You've got to be aware of other people. You've got to be able to control the vehicle you're driving. There's driving on different types of roads, driving in different areas. There's so much to kind of do. There's the difference between driving in a city and driving on motorways. It's just, it's the whole thing. But I really enjoy it personally, and I'm the kind of person that will go for a drive just for the sake of going for a drive, because I think it's fun and I like doing it. Also, it's a great place to listen to music, just jamming along and driving down some A roads and B roads. The funny thing is, there's a lot of stuff in my car currently that I don't understand, which is hilarious. And most people would say, read the manual, because I do have a manual for the car. But I'm not joking, it's like 2 inches thick. It's crazy. There's so much stuff in this car. It's kind of intimidating, I won't lie. The funny thing is, the other day, because of the colder temperatures and whatnot with the weather, I had my first drive in fog. And for the life of me, I could not figure out where the fog lights were. I was looking on the light stalk, I suppose you'd call it, the thing that does indicators and that controls your lights, and I was like, which one of these is the fog light? It wasn't a problem. I could see perfectly fine, and I did have some lights on, but I couldn't figure out how to get the strong beams that will cut through fog, because your standard lights don't cut through fog very well. I was fortunate that I was driving at like 10 to 8 in the morning, so it was starting to get light. There was still kind of street lights around, and I could see everyone else, and most likely they could see me, so there wasn't any problem. I was just having a minor panic because I was like, how do I function the car? I have now figured out how that works. I've read the manual, it's all in there, so that's good. That's the nice thing about moving up cars. When you upgrade anything, it's really nice to experience the stuff that you didn't have before. So like in my old car, it was literally just a car, right? It had no fancy controls for anything particularly. It had steering wheel controls for the radio, but that was about it. It was like a volume adjustment and changing through your channels on the AM and FM radio. That tells you how old the car was. It didn't have like any driver assist. Didn't even have cruise control or things like that. It didn't have lane assisting, or it didn't have a reversing camera. It didn't even have parking sensors. It had literally nothing. So going from that to a car that has a full touchscreen in the middle, this one has all of the driver assist functions going. It's got lane assist, it's got braking assist, it's got collision detection, it's got auto start stop with the engine for saving fuel, it's got cruise control, it's got a speed limit. There's so much on this car, it's ridiculous, but it's really nice, because obviously that's the reward to me, I suppose, that I bought my first car, a cheap old car, just to get used to driving and being a driver, and then almost 6 years later, when I've now got a job and got money and disposable income, I've now upgraded to something a lot nicer. That's really nice, and it's just enjoyable to use. Like in my old car, because it only had a radio, that was the only thing it had, not even a screen or anything, it was an old style FM radio. The way I got my phone into the car, because again, there was no auxiliary input, there was no USB input, literally nothing, you can buy FM Bluetooth transmitters, which are genius. Honestly, genius. Essentially, it works like a Bluetooth speaker. So you connect to your phone with it via Bluetooth, and then what it does is, instead of producing sound, is it produces a FM radio signal. It's only a small little weak local one, but obviously that's fine because it's inside the car and the car's antenna is like 7-8 feet, and that's how you get music in your car. You tune your radio to the frequency you set on the little device, and boom, there's your music from your phone. It's genius. It's honestly really clever. I still have the little device just in case I ever need it for something. Like, it's got a USB port on it as well for charging. It's awesome. Highly recommend if you've got an old car still that doesn't have any sort of connectivity for your phone. I've talked too much about this. I don't know. I just think it's nice. It's nice. It's nice. That's all I can say. Yeah, you're either really on board with this, like I am, or you're just sat in that camp of, it's a car, I get in, I drive, as long as it doesn't explode, that's fine. But either way, I hope you've enjoyed listening, I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!